Hey, editor's note, 2 quick things before this episode comes out. 1, the person I'm responding to has been dealing with some really terrible personal stuff, so if you do have a chance to go to their channel and let them know that, hey, they don't have to go through that alone, that would be much appreciated and good. We have a lot of disagreements, and I think that their opinions are borderline abusive in the way that they can manifest, but she's still a human being dealing with a shit hand right now. Secondly, this episode features a new avatar from Jack and Quill. I'll be doing a proper introduction to the avatar in the next episode, but again, this is more an editor's note. Alrighty, thank you guys for dealing with 30 seconds of this, and let's get into the episode proper.
Atheists don't like me because Kent Hovind is my spiritual daddy.
I never knew I needed those words, but now that they've been spoken out in the open, I can't exactly unhear them.
Stop never through all that's happening.
Alrighty guys, welcome to my channel where I debunk all kinds of stuff, provide argumentation, and apparently deal with people who think Kent Hovind is their spirit daddy. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. If you're not, then you know we get into fan art before getting into the video at hand. So first we have a very H by Pola, a Dragon Suris by Little Rabbit, and another variation of Rule 63 Suris by MX Wright. As always, thank you all for your fan art submissions, and let's go ahead and jump right into the video response. But first, a little context. This is a channel that I deliberated on whether or not I should do another response to. This is because, even though I already did a response to one of her earlier videos, afterwards I found out through browsing her channel that there have been a lot of real-life issues happening over on that end. She's changed her channel name to Maverick Blonde, but it was Alyssa before I actually did my response. I guess I'll stick with Alyssa for now, but apparently she was in a relationship with a pastor who turned out to be incredibly abusive. So, Alyssa, if you are watching this response, which I'm sure will make its way back to you, if you can give me any information about that pastor, I'd like to take a crack at him. He sounded like he was a piece of shit and put you through a lot of hell. That does not mean, however, that I'm not going to respond to the points that you personally made. So, let's get into those points.
And that really makes them mad that Kent Hovind has fruit and that he's brought forth fruit and he's made converts.
So, while yes, I am upset that Kent Hovind managed to convince people that his position is correct, it's not for the reason that you'd think. Your position seems to be that I'm just mad that he's convinced people that he's right, and that's not the case. I'm mad that his position is one that is essentially pro-abuse and pro-genocide. Kent Hovind is in this strange place between the old IFB and the new IFB, and both are pro-genocide of all people who are LGBTQ. They would just prefer that genocide be done through the government because they feel like the US government should be enforcing God's laws and the Bible. Him convincing people that his positions have any validity when he is literally pro-killing hundreds of thousands of people is why I'm upset. Oh, and outside of the emotional arguments, it's also the fact that he's just wrong. But really, I'm less upset at Kent Hovind, and more I just feel sorry for the people who were convinced by his bullshit.
Kent Hovind has made a lot of converts. I'm not his only convert. There's many converts out there. And Kent Hovind's converts are always very dangerous because they go out and preach the gospel, and they believe in the real Bible, the King James Bible.
The real Bible, the King James Bible. You are aware of some of the issues with the King James Bible, right? If not, let's go into some of them. The King James Bible is based off of Greek text from about a century before it was actually penned. The person who headed that penning project's name was Erasmus. He was under a lot of pressure to get things done, and he was in a race against other cardinals to actually produce his version of the Bible. You see, no edition of the Greek New Testament had actually been published at that time, and he was in a race to get the first, as opposed to the best, version of the New Testament out at the time. As a result, it's filled with hundreds of typographical errors, which he acknowledged, by the way. Specifically, in the last 6 verses of Revelations, he actually didn't have any Greek manuscript at all, which meant he was forced to back-translate the Latin he had on hand into Greek, and in so doing, he ended up creating a bunch of variants which haven't been found in any other Greek manuscript of Revelation. They're unique to him. And that's not a good thing when you're trying to preserve an age-old document. You don't try to write something new. At best, dude was guessing. The early modern English King James Version used his Greek translated manuscripts as a basis for their writing. This meant that any typographical or lexiconal errors that Erasmus made in the Greek manuscript transferred over to the King James Version. Another issue we run into is the fact that King James got that version of the Bible penned in his name due to the fact that he was trying to solidify power in his kingdom. Getting the King James Version written, and more importantly, getting it plated onto the new printing presses in his kingdom, basically democratized the Bible. As opposed to, historically, having the Catholic Church tell you what the Bible said in Latin, this was a Bible that, should you be able to afford the paper, you could have in your own home. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That means that more people were able to read the Bible, but it also meant that you got hundreds of people with their own version of what the Bible said. King James desperately needed to secure power in his country anyways, because as he was ascending to the throne, it was because Queen Elizabeth I had ordered the execution of his mother, who was Mary, Queen of Scots. His mother had represented a Catholic threat to Elizabeth's Protestant reign. Printing a democratized Protestant Bible was as much a sword as it was a shield for him. Before printing his Bible, there were two versions of the Bible people were essentially getting. The Bishop's Bible, the version of the Bible they got read in church, and then the Geneva Bible, which was created by Calvinists during the reign of Mary, Queen of Scots. The Geneva Bible had annotations in it that questioned the bishop's power in the country, and also questioned the divine right of the king to rule the country as well. This meant that not only did he have an incentive to create a pro-Protestant Bible in order to satisfy Queen Elizabeth, he also needed to get a Bible that could be quickly produced and put into the hands of the commoners that didn't have any annotations in it about how to properly guillotine him. This is where we loop back onto Erasmus, who I mentioned earlier. William Tyndale ended up taking his Greek texts, shoddy edits that they were, and then created the first New Testament translation from Greek into English in 1525, and then he was executed for heresy about 10 years later. This work was analyzed by 47 scholars and theologians at the time who worked tirelessly to translate the different books of the Bible from Old Testament Hebrew and New Testament Greek into early modern English. It took them about 7 years to accomplish this goal, ending in 1611 being the year that we got our official release of the KJV. But given that it had a politically motivated reason to be printed in the first place, as well as a metric ton of editing errors in the process of getting it built, because it was being hastily edited as a dick measuring contest between two different bishops, it's no wonder that, as opposed to being the most accurate translation of the Bible ever, it is actually known to be one of the worst translations, though one of the best-selling translations of that book of all time. So, yay, fun history lesson for everybody. Let's continue.
And they believe in evangelism, and they know why they believe what they believe, because they know the foundation for their faith.
Yeah, that's something that literally every Christian ever can say. That doesn't make Hovindites special.
They're not ignorant Christians that just believe that Jesus died for them. No, they're very intelligent Christians who have a strong foundation for their faith, an unbreakable foundation. And that's what makes the atheists so mad and so hateful towards Kent Hovind's converts.
Or is it instead the fact that Kent Hovind's converts are usually pretty freaking toxic, and most of our toxic behavior towards them is reciprocatory?
Like me. And he's my spiritual daddy, and he always will be. You know, he has helped me a lot in my life. I talk to him on occasion, you know, and like anybody, he's a human. You know, I don't expect him to be perfect in every area. He's a human.
Yeah, he's not perfect. Just had a kid drown at his park and ended up just laughing it off like an absolute freaking madman. Oh, wait. Sorry, no, that's something I'd actually expect from someone who's dangerous, not somebody who's just flawed like everybody else.
But he is a genuine man that loves people and wants them to go to heaven. You know, that's his ultimate goal.
No, I'm pretty sure that that's just a mask for his actual ultimate goal, which is to get enough money to sustain himself off of donations from people. And I actually can't wait to see what the legal battle between him and his son looks like.
Is to help people go to heaven. So I was one of his converts, got saved through his ministry, and I've talked to him on and off and helped him on and off. And he's a really good man. He just wants what's best for people, wants them to get saved. So, but that's one reason that they target me and they hate me so much.
Yeah, I don't think anybody hates you. I think you just really have a persecution complex at this point, and you really need it fed, much like Canty Boy.
Because I'm one of Kent Hovind's converts. But the devil hates me so much also because I'm a King James only Bible believer. and have done soul winning ever since I got saved. Like 14 years ago, I started soul winning and just never stopped.
Oh, really? The devil hates you. Did he tell you that? Did he let you know? Write you a letter? Come to you in a dream or something? I'm legitimately curious as to how you would actually know that that figment actually says anything about you or believes anything about you.
So the devil's always after me to destroy me. So we're going to take on the devil today.
Well, this is a response video to me, so I guess you're calling me the devil? I mean, high praise, but really not really that important. I'm just a random guy you called emo on the internet in a comment with no context.
So I want to lay out my beliefs really off the bat. Basically, like I said, I was saved through Kent Hovind's ministry. I know the atheists say I repeat myself too much. Oh, sorry. I better stop,
It's not that you repeat yourself, it's that you have the ability to edit your doublespeak out and you refuse to. And I'm talking about doublespeak as in saying what you said before, redundantly, not doublespeak the way your spiritual daddy talks.
And that's one of the things these atheists always try to attack you on your imperfections. It's like, I'm a human, I have imperfections, all humans have imperfections, all humans will always have imperfections.
Yes, and most of us functioning humans try to improve on ourselves. The issue is that when you're presenting information to someone and they give you constructive criticism for how to improve your presentation method, you don't just respond with, well, everybody is flawed and everybody has imperfections. Just imagine for a second that you're working a full-time job, and that's the response you give to your boss every single time. How quickly would you get fired?
My imperfections do not negate there being a God. The fact that I have a body and a mind and a soul, show us that there's a God. But the atheists they're nitpickers. They look for your imperfections and try to say, well, you're imperfect, so there's no God.
Literally no one has said that. But if they did, then I'll gladly go after them as well, because that's argumentation on your level.
Like, you don't have your nails done, so there's no God, That's basically their arguments, like, such arbitrary, ridiculous things. Where I come from, my beliefs and stuff like that, I'm a fundamental Christian. I would lean towards the IFB or the new IFB.
Gotcha, so you'd lean towards the old sexual predator genocidal maniacs or just the newer genocidal maniacs. Got it. Good. Glad we're on the same page.
In my beliefs would pretty much line up with those people. I am not some flimsy, fly-by-night Christian, non-denominational. I'm not a Catholic. I'm not a Protestant.
I hate to tell you this, but you are a Protestant. That's, definitionally, that's a thing you are. Baptists are Protestants. Your Bible is a Protestant Bible. Protestant Christians are just Christians who aren't Catholic. I hate to say this, but you are, in fact, that thing you say you're not.
And that's one of the things that's, hard for atheists and people like that to understand, that there are Christians that were never Protestant and were never Catholic.
A Protestant Christian is a member or follower of any of the Western Christian churches that separated from the Roman Catholic Church and follow the principles of Reformation, including all Baptist, Presbyterian, and Lutheran churches. If you are an independent fundamental Baptist, you are, by definition, a Protestant. Unless you just don't know what a Protestant is, or, more likely, somebody told you that and you're regurgitating it.
There's another group of Christians out there that never came from Catholicism and never came from the Protestant Reformation.
Protestant doesn't just mean ex-Catholic, it just means any of the movements that came from that. Any children of those movements will still be Protestant. Like, you're literally a Baptist. Your beliefs line up with the IFB and NIFB. That makes you a Protestant.
And that takes some research to totally understand that.
No. It takes a lack of research to misunderstand that.
And I'm just a dumb blonde. I'm not some, really technical person. If you want the whole church history and stuff like that, if you go to Steve Anderson's channel, he probably has some of that. Where did the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church originate? I can't sit there and, I've read the Trail of Blood. I can direct you to the Trail of Blood, and that would tell you where our church beliefs came from. But in a nutshell, you should go to his channel and look that up, like church history, and you could find that on there. I'm sure he goes through that one.
So you literally bought into the idea that you can't explain this because you're female and blonde. Look, Alyssa, I'm going to level with you. I think you're smarter than that. I think you need to give yourself more credit than that. As opposed to regurgitating these things, which I now have confirmation is what you're doing, you could actually do the research yourself, as opposed to listening to the propaganda they give wholesale, especially Snowflake Anderson. Why not actually take some time to research church history? Go to a public library. Spend some time looking at different peer-reviewed research material. You know, after the air isn't trying to kill us. But you're not just a dumb blonde. You're a person. A whole person. A thinking, living, breathing person who was smart enough to leave an abusive relationship and keep your kid and get out of there. You're not that stupid.
But I believe salvation's a gift. It is a free gift. You know, God wants you to be saved. God is for you. The devil's against you. You're the deciding vote. And it says, herein is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us, and he sent his son to be the propitiation for our sins. Jesus is the propitiation. He goes in our place. He's here to pay for us to go to heaven. That's why he came in the flesh, to pay our way to heaven, because he loves us. And when I was an atheist, you know, I didn't really know love because I didn't have parents that were in my life, involved in my life. All I had was grandparents. And grandparents are great, but they're not parents. You know, I didn't have parents as a child that were involved in my life.
So you are aware that functionally, if your grandparents were the only ones that actually raised you, then they were serving that role anyway. Don't delegitimize the work your grandparents did because they're a generation above you, relatively speaking.
Like they should have been. And so I didn't know love. And I was taught, basically, you came from apes. That's what I saw on the TV, the magazines, the school, everywhere you go. They're like, you came from apes, you came from apes, you came from apes. So you eventually believe that.
Not unlike what happens when you're indoctrinated with Christian propaganda, the exact way I was. I literally grew up in a school funded by the IFB.
Now, a lot of Christian people that come from Christian homes can't understand how anybody could ever believe that. It seems so crazy to believe that. But, you know, if that's all you're around, then you just buy it and you just believe it. And so it took something really earth-shattering for me to become a Christian. 2 of my friends committed suicide, and that really made me wonder about death because they were so young. It was like, if young people die, I could die, and I don't know where I'm going to go when I die.
So, as opposed to evolutionary theory, which has actual peer-reviewed research behind it, and we can actually trace the phylogeny of the human race back several hundreds of thousand years, with good evidence both in fossils and in the genome, you came to Christianity. In your earlier video, you said it was because of dreams and stuff like that, but now it's because 2 of your friends committed suicide. Now, don't get me wrong, I can understand that being a traumatic experience. I do not want to downplay that. That is a horrible thing to have had to live through, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry for the loss of your friends and their family as well. But that does not suddenly make that a compelling reason to make a theological decision.
So, and then some Christian, family member came to me and was like, you need to watch Kent Hovind's videos. And I watched them, and it made a lot of sense what he had to say, but I was against him. Like, I'm going to destroy Hovind. So it's great that you want to destroy Hovind, because I was once there. I once wanted to destroy Hovind. I was just like, I'll destroy these arguments. This guy's an idiot. And got into his stuff, and really it started to open my mind, you know.
Of course it did. That's because Kent Hovind relies on your intuition. He's the used car salesman of evangelism. He knows exactly what to say in order to make you believe what he believes. In fact, he's even got slides on it, and he's been using the exact same shtick for several decades now. The thing is, one of the benefits to him using the same shtick for decades is that people have been debunking him for a long time. So here's what I want you to do. I have some homework for you. I know you've got a part 2 and a part 3 of the response, and I'm going to get to those. And this video is getting kind of long, so I'm actually going to have to get to a part 2 of this video as well. I didn't realize I was making a series. But my homework for you is to watch a Kent Hovind response video. Logicked would probably be the one I would appeal to the most. His demeanor's really sarcastic in ways, but at the same time, his research methods are really sound. He has an entire series called Hello, My Name is Kent Hovind, and I would urge you to watch it. Hell, do some response videos on him as well if you want, and I'll watch them. But here's the thing, I don't want you to just take what Logicked says in his video and take it wholesale the way you've done for Kent. When he rebuts Kent Hovind, I want you to get on your computer and do some research. I want you to look at his point and see if he actually has said something truthful. Then look at Kent Hovind's point and try to articulate it in your search engine and see what comes up. Check both sides of that conversation for as long as you need to. And I personally would be very interested in what you find. Because what I think happened is that you fell for his verbiage. You fell for his witty vernacular. Kent Hovind is a really convincing guy. He sounds very nice. He sounds very loving. But it's when you dig under the surface of what he's saying that you find the actual hateful foundation for his rhetoric. Don't let somebody who's very good at fast-talking convince you of a theological position. Theological position should be something that you take after a plethora of research and a lot of introspection. But again, I would highly suggest Hello, My Name is Kent Hovind. I'm going to go ahead and put the link to Logicked series in my description. If you're on my channel and you haven't seen Logicked somehow, then please go ahead and check out his series and let them know I sent you. Now, Logicked wasn't my gateway into atheism. I came to that through studying history and introspection. I stumbled across atheist YouTube after I had already become an atheist. So I'm not asking you to take the journey I took, because this isn't my journey. But I think that he would probably be able to make the point best, at least where Kent is concerned. If I could also recommend someone else, Genetically Modified Skeptic, I'll be providing a link to the video he did about when Kent Hovind decided to make fun of him, because Hovind is a functioning adult, and that's what you do. Apparently. And I guess I'll just end this off by saying that if there's one thing I've learned in all of this, it's that high school never stopped. Petty high school dramas, that was a thing that I thought would stop when I became an adult. And then YouTube and Twitter happened, and now they are ever pervasive. But that said, if you guys enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. A part 2 of this particular video, and officially part 2 of this series now, is going to be coming out soon. So share this with your friends if you want to, but please don't go harass Alyssa. Apparently she's got a bit of a persecution complex, so all you'll be doing is feeding into her narrative if you do that. So, subscribe, check out Patreon if you want, and as always everyone, insert end of video tagline here.